app as we welcome in our 1320 Kings insider and creator of the Kings Beat, James Ham. Hammer here with us. We'll dive into the Kings and the Bulls coming up here in just a few minutes. What do you think of this ring conversation that Dame Lillard has going on right now, where so many people continue to ask him about leaving Portland to go chase that championship?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I think he sets his sights on something different. And even if you go chase a ring, I think that's what we've learned. Chasing a ring doesn't actually equate to winning a ring. And so it's great that that's what a lot of these players want to do at their end of their career. They want to go be part of something bigger and I could definitely see Damian Lillard if the Warriors had one last hurrah in them, like trying to get there so he could win in front of like his hometown crowd as well. But it's tough. Like you want guys to feel like they accomplished what they needed to accomplish out of their careers. And again, not everyone gets to win. This isn't Little League. Not everyone gets to play their 3 innings. And Damian Lillard has won plenty of games at different levels, and he's made it to the Western Conference Finals. Like he's had a very successful career. He's going to make probably, I don't know, what, 400 million when it's all said and done.
And he very well might be the second greatest shooter of all time.
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, if he's not second, he's near the top of the conversation.
Yeah, he's top 5 for sure. I mean, he's up there. But you've got, of course, Steph. You've got Reggie Miller. You've got Ray Allen. You've got Clay. Like there's a lot of great shooters. He's up there. He's a great scorer as well. Not just a great shooter. And I mean, I kind of wish that more people would stick it out and play for one team their entire career. Something like we grew up watching is, the guys that stuck it out, the John Stocktons or the Dirk Nowitzkis, or like with baseball, like there's a lot of guys who stuck it out and played one team.
And I always wonder how different it might have been for Dirk at the end if he didn't get that one. How would he have felt? Was that one like the ultimate relief for him? Because we all knew how bad he wanted it. Was that one the ultimate kind of relief for him? Would that have changed anything there at the end? Because he does have one of those, as you mentioned, Hammer, one of those kind of stuck it out and finished in Dallas career. I think he was one of the 20-year guys, right?
20 years in Dallas.
Yeah, I'd like to have a conversation with Peja about that too. Like, did he feel like it diminished what he achieved to any degree? Because he's on that team with Dirk, and sort of to go your whole career and not make it, to get to the Western Conference Finals, to lose in 7 to the Lakers, but then to get one, when you were just more of a bit player later in your career. He still had a role on that team, but, he wasn't one of their defining players in any of those series and stuff. So, it's an interesting conversation because it really, like, when you get to the NBA, like, in my opinion, every player is different. Like, some guys are just fighting to make it into the league, and they've got like, man, I'd love to make it 6 years, or I'd love to make it 4 years in league and get fully vested. Then you have other guys who are top tier picks who are like, their whole goal should be to make it to an all-star team. And then you get guys that get to a certain level. I've even mentioned this with Sabonis, where all of a sudden you're a 3-time all-star and you're only 27 years old, 26 years old. And he should be looking at his career and saying, how do I get to be a Hall of Famer? And what's my path? And so I think there are all these different degrees of players that come into the league, but some of these guys, they find a home, and it makes sense to stay where you're comfortable, to stay, where you're beloved by everybody, where you write your own ticket. It's your building, everything else. So yeah, I mean, like, just as a writer, like, there are plenty of times I could have gone somewhere else and been a writer, and this is home. I'm not leaving. So, and you just, it doesn't matter thick or thin, or how many, different companies decide they don't want to cover the Kings anymore. You just kind of stick it out and create your own niche. And I think Dame has created his own niche there in Portland, where it's his world. Like, everyone else is just living in it, and he's the man there, and he'll be the man there until he decides he no longer wants to play basketball, or if he like pushes the envelope and says, hey, it's time for me to go.
Yeah, I'm with you, Ham. I like the idea of Dame's career being in Portland the entire time, and whether if it didn't result into a championship or even a finals appearance, there's still something maybe nostalgic, maybe romantic about him sticking it out the
Mm-hmm.
entire time and being with that squad. I also understand guys that move on, you know what I mean, and do things different. You know, that path isn't for everybody. Some people want to be somewhere where they have the best opportunity to win. And I can't get mad at that. I would have loved for Kevin Durant to stay in OKC, but he said I wanted to go play with other great basketball players. Like, how can you get mad at him for that? Like, he wanted to play in the best basketball situation he possibly can. Yeah, to win, but also just you hear let him speak about it because he wanted to experience that level of basketball. He wanted to play with other great ball players, and can't disparage anybody for that. At least in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I have a unique story about Kevin Durant and sort of his the when he was leaving OKC. So I covered the Warriors all the way through. So they were down 3-1 to OKC to Westbrook and Durant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think at the point that they were in Oakland, and the Warriors had won 2 in a row, and now it was tied at 6, going to Game 7, and the tide had turned, and it was a bit funky. And I had asked Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant the question if they had forgotten about their teammates a little bit. In the previous 3 games, they combined for 59 shot attempts per game. And so they were shooting almost 30 shots a game each. And no one else, I mean, they were only getting like 72 shots up. So there's only like 13 other shots for all of the other players on their team. And Russ didn't like the question at all. And he actually, once he left the stage, he stared me down the entire way out the door and then went out and was like staring me down as he's walking down. I'm like, whatever. And so Durant was outside, and I went over and talked to him afterwards. I'm like, hey, I wasn't like trying to throw you guys under the bus or anything. And he's like, no, we're cool. He said, just so you know, like the moment I got here, every single time I touch the ball, they want me to shoot it. He's like, there isn't a number that a coach here doesn't want me to hit. They want me to shoot every single time. And he's like, it's a lot of pressure. Like, we win or lose on whether I make my baskets. And it was that moment where I'm like, oh man, this dude's leaving. You could see it, like it wore on him. Like, and I think some guys are like, yeah, that's what I want. I want that every single time. But it's really hard when you look around and you don't have the guys that can actually do more, right? Like this big 3, the super teams and all that stuff. They're cool and all, but I think a lot of those guys look at like the 2002 Sacramento Kings and just like the love and the joy that they played with because everyone touched the ball on every single offensive possession. And it's just a different game. There's a beauty to it when it's not just all on you all the time. And so I felt that with Durant. And so I get what you're saying. Like, he could have stuck it out and played his whole career there, but even still, like, even the franchise moved while he was part of it. So is he a Sonic for life? Is he a Thunder for life? Like, I don't know if that would have ever been something that like even made that much sense anyways for him to be in one place his whole career.
The description there doesn't just sound like the early 2000s Kings. It sounds like the 2022, 2023 Kings. And they're going to be without one of their great shooters in Trey Lyles tonight. Trey Lyles, in fact, suspended for attempting to chokeslam Brooke Lopez at the end of the game the other night. I know you're not surprised by that. You thought that suspension was coming, but we also learned no Rashawn Holmes as well. What do you think that means for Mike Brown's approach tonight to tonight's game?
It's gonna be a little different, but I mean, it's gonna open the door for Kessler Edwards for Terrence Davis to maybe get some minutes where he's kind of been out of the rotation again. This is a Bulls team that you don't really need. Like, every game Trey Lyles seems to be impactful, but this isn't a game where, they've got a bunch of, big, gigantic power forward guys that you're going to run up against. So I don't think it's that big of a deal for one game to not have Trey Lyles. I mean, you don't want to lose a player for any amount of time. But as far as Rashawn Holmes, I mean, Rashawn Holmes hasn't played hardly at all for the better part of the entire season. And so, he had the early run where he at least got a shot, but that didn't go well. And so I don't think he would be part of the game plan anyways. So tonight, I think it's just you're going to go with more length and versatility at the 3 and the 4, and you won't have the big beefy guy that goes in there and mixes it up and gets a few rebounds and hits some big shots like Trey has the last couple of weeks.
Do you think maybe that, you know, with Chicago, first game of the road trip, all this other stuff, that they're looking at this as a situation where, well, okay, without Trey Lyles, we can get other guys. It sucks that he's not there, but we can get other guys kind of in tuned, in rhythm, getting them minutes. So you talked about some of them, TD. I thought Rashad Holmes might be able to get some run if he was there, but unfortunately he's out. But this could be a situation where you're able to keep guys in rhythm is basically what I'm saying, and get guys in rhythm as you come up to the final 15 games of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've heard Mike talk about it all season long. We've heard the players talk about it. Like, it's going to take all 15 guys or all 17 guys, whatever you want to call it, whatever the roster is. Like, there is a game where someone has an impact that you don't expect, and guys have to stay ready. And this is a moment where you might be able to reward someone who's been working really hard in practice, trying to get back in the rotation and, kind of give them a little bit of extra run. Or a guy like Chimezie Metu, maybe you test things with Chimezie and see if he can play some 4 alongside Domantas Sabonis for stretches. But either way, it's one game. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. It could give someone an opportunity to shake things loose and get out there and give you some run and maybe give you a different look and some other idea that you could use down the road. But again, Trey Lyles played a bunch. The Kings play tomorrow night, so this isn't like he's going to miss much time, and it might even give him a little bit of a rest to give him a boost for the last couple of games of the season.
Our first thought was Kessler Edwards. Also, he seems to have gotten some love from the coaching staff lately. Well earned, by the way. Some well earned love. And with him, it seems like they're really focused on what he can do on the defensive end. This is a unique offensive team that they're playing, which kind of brings this whole thing into question. You mentioned Terrence Davis there a little bit ago. It really wasn't until I read Will C's article this morning that I learned I knew Chicago was solid defensively. I didn't realize they were top 5 defensively. They're just really bad on offense. And Sacramento Kings can often be a good cure for that. But it seems like they're going to have to find ways to break up that defense a little bit and get comfortable shots for guys, get lanes for De'Aaron Fox, get Domas touches down low.
Yeah, I think that's every time you look at a good defensive team, you wonder how the Kings are going to react. And to be honest, they react really well to in most situations. They just ran through, a team like the Knicks, which is a good defensive team. Phoenix has been a good defensive team all season long.
Well, they did put up 120 something on the Bucks,
and that's where I was going. You put up 124 or I can't even remember, 126, 134. Is that what it was?
It wasn't enough, but it was 120.
it wasn't enough, but last time I checked, it 133, 124.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, the Bulls don't have a Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's
Confirmed.
just it's just the way it is, and he presents such a unique matchup issue for every team in the league. And Vucevic he hasn't lived up to his potential there. I don't really fear him either. So that's a team that the Kings should go in there. They're a team that's well under 500. This is an opportunity to get your 20th win on the road on the season, which is incredible. So I expect the Kings to come out really, really focused and try to get this 4-game trip off to the right, off on the right start. They've got an opportunity here to really put away the Suns as far as catching them for the 3 seed. They have an opportunity to climb back in the game with Memphis and sort of make a run there. And so, I think the Kings are going to be super locked in tonight.
Memphis in Miami tonight, I think it is. I think they're in Miami.
Right.
Kings in Chicago obviously got a chance to get right back into that 2 seed with a win and a Memphis loss tonight.
Then you got the Warriors and the Clippers playing each other. So
Yep.
you know
somebody's
going to lose.
Somebody
somebody's going to lose.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, the Pacific Division is sitting there for the Kings to take. I mean, you got a 4-game lead over the Suns. Like, it's right there. Just go take it. So
we putting up a banner.
Pacific Division win.
Yeah.
Was it James? Did you tell Trista to cash out on her? Was that you?
It was James.
James, did you tell Trista to cash out on her bet?
I may have said like you should consider it. Like, the money payout was really good though.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. You know,
do it.
well, she also agreed with me, but didn't do it.
Well, no, she's not going to do it. Just on principle alone, she ain't going to do it. Should point this out too, since we're running through the schedule, things to keep your eye on. Boston plays Minnesota, so you got that.
Come on, Jesse.
You've got the Lakers on the second night of a back-to-back in Houston. So we talked about the how well the Lakers are playing, not necessarily gaining a ton of ground. Well, this can move a lot of pieces if Boston takes care of business against Minnesota. And the way Boston has been playing, that's a big if. I think we expect, it doesn't mean they will. We expect the Lakers to beat Houston. There could be some shuffling in those play-in spots here by the end of the night as well.
Yeah, the play-in is wide open. I mean, it's totally wide open. We don't even know who's going to be in the play-in. I mean, look at the Pelicans are out right now. They're a half game out. I think everyone would be really surprised by that. But all of those teams are still bunched up. You're looking at a 2-game separation between 7 and 12.
You think Portland's out of it? They're 3 bad.
Yeah, I mean they're in a bad spot. They just haven't played well. They've had opportunities and never took advantage of the opportunities when they were like just right there. Like, yeah, I just don't think they're very good, which is surprising because they have a lot of interesting pieces. But again, we can go back to the beginning of the season. I think coaching played a pretty sizable role in what's happening there. And not to bash Chauncey Billups, but I just don't know that he was ready for the job after 1 year on the Clippers bench. It's a big job. It's a big job to take over a team that is on the bubble and trying to get there. And they made some nice additions. I think the Jeremy Grant addition wasn't bad. I thought the Josh Hart addition last year was nice, and those guys should have worked out together. And it didn't work out.
They were around playing playoff situation until they moved on from Josh Hart. And I don't know why they did that. I mean, you go get Cam Reddish. I like Cam Reddish, but I wouldn't have traded Josh Hart for Cam Reddish. That seemed like it was a big loss for them.
Yeah, I think that they're a team that you can kind of circle and go, okay, what are they going to do in the offseason? Because they have some pieces that would really look nice in Sacramento that are either unrestricted or restricted free agents.
I was going to say Shaedon Sharpe.
Yeah, well, no, they're going to build around Shaedon. They're going to build around Simons. They're going to build around Nasir Little. But what does that mean for Jeremy Grant? What does that mean for Matisse Thybulle? And, those are guys that the Kings should be targeting. Both of those guys, they should be targeting. Like, if they could go into a summer and come out with both of those guys, that would be a major, major coup of a summer.
Our buddy Chris Biederman, who I'm pretty sure is in Chicago.
Yeah, he's on the trip.
Bulls coach Billy Donovan says Alex Caruso is out tonight. Those non-COVID related illnesses have gotten guys. So Alex Caruso officially ruled out for tonight's game. Defensively, that's a big deal. It's a big deal for Chicago to lose him.
Yeah.
Now, perimeter, you're dealing with Kobe White.
Please don't mention that man's name anymore. Every time you do, something terrible happens.
Kobe, the dude Kobe White, he can shoot the
So
rock.
say it again. Say his name again. He's going for 40 tonight because Kenny said his name twice.
That dude,
thank you,
can shoot the rock. And then
I'll never forget that. For those who don't get the context of the story, this is early. This is early D'Lo and KC days. Kenny, we're signing off. The show's over, James. And KC, for no reason, goes, man, watch out for that dude, Kobe White, tonight. Oh, okay. Show signs off. Game starts. It goes for like 40.
KC was making people's careers that year. I mean, PJ Washington had the game of his life.
PJ
that
Washington.
Yeah,
That's right.
PJ was another one to look out for. Now they do have
Still future King PJ Washington, or have we moved on from that?
well, it depends on what you feel about Keegan. Not like if he's good or not, but do you think he can play the 3?
Oh, okay.
I still think with PJ would make sense as like a third forward. So yeah, I mean he could be a starter somewhere, but he's kind of in and out as a starter there in Charlotte. The reason he's starting is because of the Miles Bridges situation. So yeah, I don't know. Like he could make some sense, but he's another restricted free agent, so they can match. And with them already losing talent in Miles Bridges and that whole situation, again, it's going to be tough for them to keep losing there, where they don't really have a backup plan to him.
Not to do the whole cart horse gimmick here.
No, go ahead and say that.
No, but just on principle, I'm not going to say it. Does the whole offseason start with Harrison Barnes? Does like everything that the Kings do start with Harrison Barnes in one way or another?
I think fans-wise it does. Like the fans are going to be super hyper-focused on that. I'm not sure the Kings are. We'll have to wait and see how they walk into it and whether that's like their priority number one is to bring back Harrison Barnes. Yeah, they love him. I think that in a perfect world he would be back in Sacramento. But at the same time, you still understand that your roster has deficiencies, and one of the places you can address those deficiencies is at that position. And so I don't think you do like a lateral move with Harrison Barnes going out and someone else coming in just to make a move type deal, especially for what he means off the court and behind the scenes and all that stuff. But this team still needs length, athleticism, defensive prowess. They still need that guy at the 3 or the 4, and whether Harrison fits that bill or not, he's been really, really solid all season long. He's been your vet on this team. But yeah, I'm not sure that it really, the whole offseason hinges on him.
Yeah, and when I think about Harrison, it's just like, unless you can get somebody that's clearly better than him, I would really look to just try and bring him back at that 3 spot. I haven't seen enough from Keegan at the 3 to make me think he's ready to take on that responsibility. I've seen more than I thought I would. Like I see flashes. People always talk about Chris Middleton and having that comp. And before, I was like, no way. And there are some things that I've seen where I was like, wow, he might be able to get there. He's a lot, he's a lot more fluid with his movements than I gave him credit for. If he can work on his handle and do some other things, maybe we could get there. But I don't think he's there yet. And like I said, unless you're getting, we're at this point where I feel like we're talking about like a potential all-star small forward. If you're not getting that, I absolutely would be looking to just bring Harrison back on a 2-3 year deal.
Yeah, I think that the Kings, like, that's going to be part of their thinking going into the offseason, but I also think that, like, that in order to take the next step forward, you need to plan not only this year out, but the year after, the year after, the year after. And you need to have a, short-term and long-term answer in place. And, there will be regression at some point from Harrison Barnes. We saw it early. What we thought was regression early in the season. It was just a bad start. And I think he's been really, really good the entire season. So, yeah, it's going to be part of the equation. But at the same time, like, look, one of the basic tenets that Monty McNair learned in his time with Daryl Morey in Houston was never overvalue your own players. That is something that they preach heavily with that system. And, you're going to go and you're going to create you got a spreadsheet and it has all of these things built into it that your algorithm that you're building out who would fit with who and what's the perfect player for you and all that stuff. And the key is to not put your own player above all of these other players just because you have a relationship and you think something really positive of them. If you want to get better, you have to, basically take it take each individual and really match it up against what it is that you can do that's bigger and better. Or if you can't, then you stay with what you got.
I got an idea for you, James. It's a callback to yesterday's show. I'm going to need you to schedule a off-the-record happy hour with James Ham. Mm-hmm. Call it whatever you want to, but I'm going to need you to invite Mark Stein into the happy hour. And I want you to ask Mark Stein who the hell he was talking about yesterday on his podcast when he said that the Sacramento Kings 10 to 12 months ago had a very prominent trade nearly completed before an agent stepped in because he didn't want his player going to Sacramento. Now, we've speculated, could that have been a player who was traded to somebody else? Could it have been a player who wasn't traded? I didn't look up his agent, but I had a great suggestion sent to me last night that maybe it was Pascal Siakam. But I'm off the record, of course. Got to go to thekingsbeat.com, become a premium subscriber to find out. But I'm going to need you to go ahead and schedule that because Mark Stein floating that little nugget out there and then just leaving it and ending the podcast is terrible. And I know you're friends with Mark Stein, so I'm going to have to ask you to get on that. I don't ask for much, James. Just, I just need you 3 times a week for an hour, sometimes 4 hours. I don't ask a lot. I'm going to need you to get – I'm going to need you to call your buddy Mark Stein and figure out what that –
next Friday.
We'll talk about that after the show, James. I'm going to need you to find out what that was all about.
Yeah, I do have. We're gonna have a happy hour next week, and we're gonna bring in Sam Amick, who was one of our first guests when we first started doing happy hours. But the Kings Beat was much smaller then; it was just starting out. So, our good friend Sam Amick is gonna drop in and do the happy hour.
Sam told some pretty good stories the first time around.
He did.
Yeah, he's got some great ones. I want to pick his brain on the Jaws situation. I think that's a really interesting situation that he was right in the middle of with the whole reporting from Indiana. And so, it's good stuff. So, the national guys, they're fun to have in. They're difficult to line up. It just so happens that Sam sits next to me at most Kings games.
Sometimes we don't look. I mean, Sam obviously is here. He is a national guy. Mark is a very, very, very national guy. You got him for like 90 minutes, which was insane that you got Mark Jones for 90 minutes on one of those things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, boy, was he incredible. Yeah. Those are fun.
Premium subscriber, kingsbeat.com. That's what you got to do. It's worth it. It's worth every penny.
Yep.
Every penny. We'll come back. Let's step out here for a second. We'll come back. We'll talk more about the Kings game tonight. Keep saying the Kings game is in like 90 minutes. So we'll talk about the Kings and the Bulls. Talk about this road trip coming up and what we think about this road trip coming up where they've got Chicago tonight. They got, in my opinion, a very good Brooklyn Nets team tomorrow night as well. Washington, Utah, all of these teams coming up. And then they get home for some home cooking against the Boston Celtics. It's all coming up here when we return with James Ham on D'Lo and KC, brought to you by Sky River Casino on Sacramento Sports Leader. It's ESPN 1320. Sorry, guys. I'm going to try to get up again.
No, you're good. James, are you following the World Baseball Classic at all?
I haven't been. I probably should be.
Pretty interesting.
I saw that there was a perfect game, but it was like a questionable perfect game.
Yeah, I forgot the story on that one completely.
I think Puerto Rico, they were playing, whoever they were playing, they mercy ruled whoever it was, so it ended in 8 innings.
Yeah, mercy rule. It was Puerto Rico, wasn't it? Yeah.
I saw, like when I was young, I saw a no-hitter. The Baltimore Orioles no-hit the A's, and but it was 4 pitchers because their starter got hurt in like the 4th.
Uh-huh.
I want to say it was like Mike Boddicker or something. Someone got hurt in like the 4th inning, and they ended up with a combined no-hitter. Yeah.
Venezuela, the Ramsey says it's who it was. They are one of the favorites to win this thing. Shout out to Pablo Sandoval. I don't think he plays on the squad, but that's his old team.
That is the most hated Red Sox player of all time.
Pablo
Panda?
That's crazy.
It's not.
No, it's great. I mean, he was terrible with you guys, but how could you hate the Panda? No, hate the Panda.
You can't hate the Panda.
Panda. I don't know where it's at. I can't remember what I was looking for.
Hmm.
I know what I was looking for. That's right. What is it? Saturday. James, you going out to the NCAA tournament at all?
I don't think so because we have games every single game, every single day that they have games.
Oh, they play on Saturday, huh? They play the Wizards on Saturday.
Yes. Is it the Wizards? Who do they play tomorrow night?
They play Brooklyn tomorrow, and then Washington.
Saturday, and then I think Monday is Utah, followed by back-to-back Tuesday at home against what do I want to say? Boston.
Yeah,
Boston?
it's only a 4-game trip. I don't know why I keep thinking it was a 5-game trip.
No, it's 4, but with a back-to-back.
You can't hate the panda the same way Lucky Charms. Lucky Charms is trash, bro. What you want me to do? It's not my fault. It's
That's
not my
funny.
fault, man. Lucky Charms is whack. I said it. Looking for this email. You guys don't mind me. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I got to do my prize picks.
What? Oh, yeah. Let people know what it is if you want.
I am the worst at prize picks in the history of prize picks. I lose almost every single game. It's fun, though.
It's one of those things that when you're not doing it, you probably nail them. And then the 7
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, you doing your picks?
Yeah, I'm doing my prize picks right now. There's a lot of they're expecting low scoring games tonight from what I can tell. So I'm not sure why. But I'm going with overs. Not overs. I'm going with mores. Yeah, I'm bad at it though. But again, like I enjoy it. I think and it sounds weird, but I think playing fantasy sports makes you a better fan of whatever
study
sport
more.
it is.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. You study more. You're more aware of everything that's going on.
You study more, and you watch more of around the league, whether it's basketball or whether it's football.
Or you could just be a Kings fan and you will watch more around the league. Because that's what we've done for years. What's going on? What's going on around the league?
James H says my wife is blocked on social media by Pablo Sandoval.
Oh,
I don't know what started that conversation, but that's funny.
because Jesse said Pablo's hated in Boston.
Oh, okay. All right. Man, them engineers are overworking hard for us. They testing the roadcaster and the mics, and
Appreciate those guys.
man, that's facts.
Appreciate those.
That's
guys.
facts.
You know, I used to always like this. They have the practices for the teams that are here.
Mm-hmm.
They used to have them later at night. They all happened today. Missed them all.
Well, one was at the high school. Were the other ones at G1C?
Yeah, they were supposed to all be at G1C. I think Arizona might have went to Sac High before they went to the Golden One Center because they're all supposed to be at the Golden One Center. But they started at like 11 o'clock. They used to do these things like starting now up until like 8 o'clock at night. And they were always free.
Kenny thought he was going to get out of the house to go watch practice.
No, stay right here. Do better, NCAA.
I gotta get something to the Sac State people. You want to do So Will Z did 1250. Let's see if Coach wants to come around 115.
Mm-hmm.
Need to start writing this stuff down.
Did our people get to go to the state championship game?
No. Assistant did. Live on the Odyssey app, live on twitch.tv/ESPN1320, youtube.com/ESPN1320. And Steelo and KC brought to you by Sky River Casino. We'll be doing our show live from inside 32 Brew Street at Sky River Casino this Friday. We hope that you can make it out. We've been talking a lot about how loyal and passionate our audience has been, and the whole office is coming. Please don't make us out to be liars. Please, like, just for this one time, show up. Just because I think this is the only one get in on the action. Sky River Casino is the place to play with over 2,000 of the newest slot machines and over 80 table games. Sky's the limit at Sky River Casino. Of course, the show starts at 12. We'll be there before, and we'll be there long after.
That's right, baby.
They got St. Patrick's Day drink specials jumping off. Yeah, it's going to be, you said it already. It's going to be movie status. I haven't talked Ham into coming out yet. It's a long drive for James Ham. But I'm going to work on James after the show and see if we can get him to come out. But it'll be the Kings and the Chicago Bulls tonight. One thing, James, this is a tough road trip in the sense of, I don't know that the teams are specifically tough, but as we get down to like wind down this season, we were looking at Dallas's schedule earlier. Dallas has a ton of Eastern Conference teams ahead of them on their schedule. And that feels like such a psychological disadvantage because you obviously you got to take care of business first and foremost, but it could have absolutely zero impact on the standings. And I look at this road trip ahead. Kings got to take care of business, but a win is just that. Like some of these wins now moving forward, they count as two. Whether it's the tiebreaker or you're knocking someone down a peg or whatever the case may be, they count as a little something extra. When you're playing Washington and Brooklyn and Chicago tonight, they don't. Like it's like you just got to go out there and you've got to take care of business, and whatever else happens around the league happens, and you can't worry about that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I would, if you look at this this road trip, it's a little brutal as far as the travel. So you're looking at, again, time zones and East Coast time zones. You're also looking at 4 games in, 6 nights? Yeah. So you've got a back-to-back, a day off, a game, a day off, and then a back-to-back. So those 4 and 6, they wipe you out. It's good that the Kings actually have a couple of days to think about it after they get done with the Celtics, after like the barrage of games. They have 2 days off before they play Phoenix, and that's a big deal because that's going to be the one that everyone's circling that they have to win. But like you got three teams on this trip that are sub 500, you got to take care of business. Yeah. It's just like every other game this season. The Kings need to stay focused on the minutia. They need to stay focused in the moment and go out and beat teams that aren't very good. And I think they can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that they've done for the most part all year. Like every other team in the league, there's hiccups here and there. But, when called on to handle business, as we like to say, they've handled it more times than not. And you just hope that they can do it, in this road trip. Because this would, you go, I don't know, I'm just throwing a number out there. So you can go 3-1 on this 4-game road trip. That'll go a long ways to kind of sealing things up as far as the playoffs, possible top 4. I mean, it's already tough mathematically to fall out, but if you get you a 3-1 road trip here on this, like James was talking about, tough traveling wise, and you got some sneaky teams. Like Chicago's not terrible.
Well, you got teams that are fighting for their own.
Yeah, fighting for their lives.
We talked about this, but Billy Donovan might be fighting to stay employed.
Yeah.
Whether you agree with that or not, that's the way sports work. Like I think Billy Donovan might be, fighting to keep his job in Chicago.
Absolutely.
Well, and you got Washington and Chicago who are tied right now for the 10th spot in the East. And neither one of those teams are like cash it in teams.
Right.
They're just not good.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of strange. And the other thing I'll point out too, like the Kings are a really good road team, and they've proven it all year with it 19-3 on the road. They have an opportunity to go above 500 on the road for the season. You get 21 wins on the road. That's incredible for the Sacramento Kings. Historically, they're one of the worst road teams ever. Like, again, that they hold the streak for the
They own
longest.
some dubious records.
Yeah, I think it's at 41 or 42 straight that they lost on the road over 2 seasons.
That's kind of one of the crazier notes about this Kings season, how fun it is, how amazing it is. But really, because we all think about just the immediate past, right? The in 16 years, that's a long immediate, but that's all just one after the other. This franchise has not been good. Like, this has been a terrible franchise, and there's
no lies.
the one, shining moment, if you will, with Rick Adelman and that group right there. But everything else has just been like bad. Yeah. And it just puts the context of this season. It just elevates it so much more because, it's the first in 16 years for sure. But this franchise, this fan base hasn't even had double-digit great seasons in its 37-year history. Hasn't even had double-digit winning seasons in its 37-year history. That's insane. And to know that they're 2 wins away from being securing a winning season is just incredible.
I mean, it's really incredible that Mike Brown is only the second head coach in 38 years of Sacramento Kings basketball to post 40 wins. Yeah. I mean, that's just wild. It's him and Adelman, and that's it. So, I mean, they came close. Again, the Jaeger year where he threw away the last game of the season, the 2 years back-to-back in 1994, 95, 95, 96 under Gary St. Jean where they won 39 games. Like, they've come close, but this is a monumental moment for the Kings. Getting to 500.
Come close. They're at 40 with 15 games left.
I know.
Versus going, Dave Yeager threw away that last game. He knew he was being fired, so they didn't get to 40. It's just so different.
Yeah. I asked the question on Twitter, and we'll have fun. Let's have fun.
Oh, that's always means you're about to start something.
Let's have fun. James, Damien, I'll go first.
Oh, Jesus.
15 games left. How many wins?
Oh, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
He's not doing it. Man, they need 10 to get to 50. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They get 10 wins.
I'm gonna be ambitious.
Did they get to 50?
Yeah, I'm gonna be.
I think they're gonna get to 50.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There's little reason to believe that they can't. Man, 50 wins would be just incredible.
10-5 after in his last 15 is about, I don't know what the percentage is, but it feels like that's about what they've done all year. Is whatever that percentage is, they've been about that. Or what are they?
60. Yeah, 60%.
Is that what they are now?
Yeah. Oh, they're
you have 5
one game under. They're pacing for 48.5, I think, somewhere right around there. Yeah, I mean,
fascinated by that. Like, where's the half game come from?
Yeah, it's gonna look. This is what you sign up for. This is the big moment where you got to finish strong. And I know a lot of people right now are a little worried about what's happening in Denver, and Denver's just lost their way out of nowhere. And Mike Malone is good. We're facing some adversity. We haven't really had adversity. We haven't been tested all year. So yeah, I think adversity is good, but I think also in year one of your playoff, what hopefully will be a playoff run, a series of playoffs, over the next 3 to 5 to 8 years. In year one, if you can get to 50 somehow, that's crazy. And I told you guys last week, you looked at the 3 games that were coming up, the Knicks, Suns, and Bucks. I said, if you can go 1 and 2 over that stretch, I think they can get to 50. They went 2 and 1. And so I'm a little more confident in what they have going on here. Can you beat Phoenix again? I don't know. That's going to be a big game, especially coming after a horrible back-to-back where you're in Utah one night and back home the next night for the 4th game in 6 nights against the Boston Celtics. So that's going to be a tough one there. but you can't let things spiral out of control and kind of slip. So I don't know.
They get what 2 days off in between that one though, huh? Because they play Boston on Tuesday. They don't play again until Friday.
Yeah, I think it's Friday.
They get some days
That's
off.
the Phoenix game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
the
they,
Phoenix
then they
game is
play
Friday.
Utah next night. It's
Back-to-back,
another
yeah.
back-to-back. They have 3 back-to-backs beginning tonight. They have 3 back-to-backs the rest of the season,
Yeah,
which seems like a ton because there's only like 3 weeks left in the season.
Don't they have?
they
Is
got
it
another one. They've
Yeah,
got Dallas and New Orleans.
Good Lord, man.
But that's the NBA looking at it. They're like, okay, we'll just pencil all these in for the Kings because we just want to get their season over with. Typically,
Well, the Kings
And-
still have games to make up. They
That's
still have
crazy.
not made.
They've got 4 back-to-backs. That's insane.
They still haven't made up games. There's Kings got 15 left. I think other teams got like
We're gonna
13.
We're gonna find out at the end of the year. The NBA only scheduled them for 80 because they thought they would be done sometime in January. Sorry, guys. Any minute, Adam Silver's gonna call a press conference. Our bad, guys. We didn't expect this to matter. We only scheduled the Kings for 80 games.
yeah,
You mentioned Denver. I made this note, and did Mike Malone say they were in chill mode? Is that what he said last night?
He said, we've just been in chill mode, and
He's
I don't know,
sick
maybe
of
we're
them.
a little soft here. I don't
Yeah.
know. We get, like you said, finding adversity. Does anybody here think it's a real possibility to get the 1 seed?
I don't think so. That's a
I
lot
don't
of
think
games.
so.
That's 4 for Memphis, 5 for Sacramento. I don't
4 in
think
the
so.
loss column for the Kings.
Okay, I didn't catch that. All right.
it's
I
4 in
still-
the loss column. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It is 4 in the loss column.
And you played
That's
Denver.
Denver lose, man.
You played Denver last game of the season.
That's true. And I'll tell you, the Kings, after we talked about this all, early on, they got that through that 3-game stretch. They now have the 17th most difficult schedule in the NBA.
Oh, good.
And it's 500 against. And if I look at Denver's a 508. They're the 11th most difficult. Utah's schedule's like off the charts hard.
I'm
then-
beginning to think. Go ahead, Am.
New Orleans, Dallas, Memphis, and the Lakers are 27, 28, 29, and 30.
It's Dallas,
Easiest
man.
schedules.
Jeez,
Lakers
the
got the easiest
Lakers.
schedule.
I'm beginning to think next to the trade machine that strength of schedule thing is the stupidest thing ever created. I hate it.
You hate it?
It's a
I hate it,
tankathon.
and it does. It changes every day, which I appreciate. It does change, and it adjusts by the wins. Because I told you we were looking at Dallas's schedule and how weird that looked earlier, given the fact they just have like a ton of Eastern Conference teams left to close out the season. They've got Charlotte twice over the course of the next week. But the Lakers are playing well, and Jesse noted the Lakers are 7-3 in their last 10 and haven't really moved, just because the way that the conference is, the way that those teams kind of in that playing position have worked. They moved from 12 to 10 over the last week or so, but weren't really able to do much more than that. And all they really had was like one big meaningful loss, and that was the one against the Knicks that would have propelled them up to 7.
Yeah, I'll bring up too. You mentioned Dallas with all the East Coast games. Keep in mind that the East Coast games for the Kings and East Coast games for Dallas are totally different. So because Dallas is in the middle of the country, they're in the Mountain Time Zone. They're 2 hours ahead of us, but they're only an hour behind like the East Coast. So the travel is shorter. The time zone difference is much less. And those are easier for a team like that. That's why when Zebo came to Sacramento and playing in Memphis forever, he's like, what in the world is with this schedule? I'm like, this is always the schedule. He's like, are you kidding me? And I guess when you're in the middle of the country, it's not that bad to fly to one coast or the other coast. And like your sleep schedules aren't way off. But when you're losing 3 hours and gaining 3 hours and bouncing all over the place, that's not easy. Again, we're talking about Saturday in Washington, Monday in Utah in a totally different time zone, and Tuesday in Sacramento in a totally different time zone. 3 days, 4 days, 3 different time zones.
Do you think there's a big difference? This is a something we were discussing earlier. Is there a big importance to you between the 2 and the 3 seed, looking at the potential opponent, depending on the 2 or the 3 seed?
Yeah, I mean, no matter what, you want the extra game at home. So that would be the only difference, really. Because if you make it through the first round, that's a team you're going to play in the second round. And if they make it through. And so you'd want that home court advantage if at all possible. Outside of that, like, it's a coin toss who you're going to play, whether you're the 3 seed or you're the 2 seed. Like, who the heck knows who's going to be there? Like, there's like 6 different variables on who could be the Kings' first round matchup if they're like the 3 seed and again if they're the 2 seed. Like, it's the same group of teams, but it's all jumbled up and crazy. And that's before we even get to the play-in. Where if you're the 3 seed, you know who the 6 seed's going to be. If you're the 2 seed, you won't know who you're playing until the day before, and they'll be coming to you, but you won't know who it is because it's a play-in teams.
I haven't thought about that. That is a very, very different dynamic.
Yeah,
not knowing who that team's
game
going to be.
Yeah, things of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also,
I mean, you would have seen the team no matter what. You would have seen them probably 4 times no matter what. But still, it's very different. Yeah.
It's very different. It's not great either for us that are like, I want to cover, the playoffs without any question. And it's one thing when you got a corporate card, you're throwing down on 2 different sets of plane tickets and then canceling one at the last second and all that stuff. But like, we won't know where we're flying for a few days. And then it's like, oh boy, like
Ham could go to San Francisco or Minnesota.
Oh,
or New Orleans or Dallas. Like, that's a problem though. You're like, you can't just load up and buy every single plane ticket and go, I'm going, I don't care where, and then start canceling.
Go to Los Angeles.
Yeah, go to Los Angeles.
There's a couple of variables there. Or just get in a car and drive down to San Francisco.
Yeah, it just seems like the caliber of opponents feel different for me. I feel like the Clippers or the Warriors are finishing. I feel like those are 5-6 in whichever order you want. Clippers, Warriors, Clippers, whatever you want. I feel like once you get into the play-in, the caliber of opponents are a little bit different. Like, I don't think Minnesota's better than Sacramento. I don't think New Orleans is better than Sacramento. I don't think the Lakers are better than Sacramento. I just don't want to deal with that. I think they have the 2 best players in this conversation, but I think Mike Brown wins a lot of those coaching battles as well. I just think the dynamic is so different when you're talking about who you're going to play at the 7 spot versus who you're going to play at the 3 spot.
Yeah, all kinds of variables here that we haven't thought about until now because we haven't ever had to think about them before.
Never.
Would you
never come up before?
Do you have a
much less with 3 weeks left in the season?
Just a personal preference, not like, oh, I think the Kings could beat this team. Just, would you rather just go to San Francisco? Is that easier on life, or would you say, hey, I wouldn't mind going to see a Kings Lakers series and going back and forth, LA in here? You have a personal preference?
LA is not. I've been to LA a million times, so that one's not like that intriguing. I would hope that like Utah is not there because that's just more difficult. Although that's not that bad. I like going to Utah is not that bad. I don't like the descent into Utah on a plane. It's sketchy.
Utah is deceitfully far.
It is.
It seems like it's close.
You got to go past Nevada.
It's not. It's like, wait, how long is this flight?
Well, the elevation is really high. And then you come in really sharp down into landing. It's not a fun landing spot. So, but I like it. Dallas is okay. It's pretty quiet. If it was in New Orleans, everyone loves New Orleans. So,
Ham turn it up on.
Been there a few times.
I was gonna say. Speaking of, did you guys see that story about the Clippers plane?
The Clippers plane?
Yeah, when they were going to Denver, it got struck by lightning and dropped elevation several times.
I've been in a plane several times.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. Like, it just goes completely dark, drops, and then the power came back on and went back up. It's not okay at all. It is no good. Ooh. It's enough to keep you from flying.
That's why I don't need to fly in the winter.
In the winter.
We definitely do fedora ham in New Orleans. Yes.
Oh, Fedora.
It's lit.
Oh,
That is
man.
where Fedora Ham initiated from. That's where
That's
it all.
right. That's right.
Yep.
I could see New Orleans Ham being a problem. New Orleans Ham being he could be a whole different animal.
I think I've been to New
Fedora,
Orleans
cigar,
4 or 5 times. Yeah.
Whiskey, yeah.
Oh,
James
whiskey.
comes to do James comes to do his hit with beads on.
I did do that. Yep.
I can see that for sure.
That's the other aspect. We're gonna get road ham on the show.
That's right.
It's gonna be crazy. We never had road ham.
Well, I don't know why road ham just sounds so
Sounds
odd.
ridiculous.
I don't know why it doesn't sound right. Let's just eliminate road ham from future conversations. I don't even want an Urban Dictionary what road ham might mean.
Oh no! What has happened?
I said this
It just
yesterday.
sounds like I need to say pause.
I said this yesterday. I've got to get control of this show again. Like, I have to regain control of this show somehow. We're shutting this down. Between pictures of you and Carmichael Dave, now Road Ham, we're just shutting this thing completely down.